Good morning, friends, and welcome to this take two for Wednesday, June the 27th, 2018. Excuse me. I just got in last night after a tumultuous week, a difficult and challenging week, and I was very tired. I had airplane rides and train rides and a lot of walking through airports, etc. So if I appear to be a little like I may be stumbling, or maybe that I'm not making sense, please bear with me. It's been a rough one. I got home flew in from Philadelphia yesterday. Last week, you may have noticed that I haven't been on for a couple of days, and it's for good reason. I flew up last Wednesday to see my mom, who was hospitalized. And it was a lot worse than we had anticipated. My sister had just seen her a few days before, and just in that short little period of time, she seemed to have declined rapidly. And it was rough seeing her that way. And I have to say this, good old mom. My mother has always been the type of person that I called it a stick-to-itiveness attitude, a stick-to-itiveness quality about her. She was not a quitter. She kept moving on and moving on. And it came to the point where it was touch and go and could go either direction. And we didn't realize how much she had declined in just a matter of a couple of days until I walked into that room and saw her in that bed. And we had a wonderful visit. It was great. Now, she was a little ornery. She was a little cranky, but believe me, she was completely aware of what was going on around her. As a matter of fact, the nurses had to do procedures and the doctors and so on, and there were a lot of papers and things to sign, and the nurses were saying, well, can you sign this for her? Can you? And we were like, no, she can sign her own papers. She does not have dementia. She is completely the feisty little Sicilian lady. She knows exactly what's going on. And my mother signed all her own papers up until hours before she passed. See, that evening when we said goodbye, I guess part of us in our hearts knew this was it. But you never really 100% prepared for it. But it was time for her to go. It was as simple as that. She got in the bed, and she was still in the bed, and they shut the lights and everything. We had said goodbye. And 4.5 hours later, in her sleep, she quietly slipped out of this world and into the next. And it's kind of funny. We've made all kinds of comments about how my father was waiting for her at the heaven's gates and saying, Mary, I've been waiting 16 years for you to get here so you can make the coffee. And even my friend Joe said, I said, maybe she's up there rolling meatballs. And he said, and angel hair pasta. I said, made by real angels. So we can laugh. We can remember her fondly. But it is one of the hardest things I've ever had to endure. And I know it's going to be a continuous, what's the word I'm looking for? A continuous, ongoing process. Well, okay, now let me get to my point, boys and girls. We said goodbye. It was tough. She was 88 years of life on this earth. And yes, Jane, my cousin Jane is saying, I'm sorry, Jeannie, Aunt Mary was an amazing woman. Yes, she certainly was. Thank you for your kind words, Jane. I know there's a lot of folks out there. I'm watching the names rolling, and I know you're offering love and support and prayers. Thank you for that. But back to my point. The same week my mom went in the hospital for the last time, she had another great-grandchild born into the family, and of course, you know, I talk constantly about my family, and especially the little ones, Jimmy, and especially about this new one, Thomas Franklin. And 2 days after my mother's passing, I was able to hold that little bundle. We call him the dough baby because he's just soft and squishy like dough. I was able to hold the dough baby in my arms. And I cried and I cried and I cried. Why did I cry? Well, I cried because not only was I holding this little miracle in my arms, this beautiful little chubby, pudgy, chubby-dubby miracle in my arms, not only that, but a thought came to me. Life goes on. It goes on. little Thomas Franklin did not, life didn't stop. I mean, my mother's gone, and Thomas is here. Now they'll never meet each other. Now, thankfully, and I'm so grateful that my mother had two other great grandchildren to dote over. That for four or 5 years, little Jimmy and Adeline, she was able to have those great grandchildren and all the extended family and relatives and nephews and nieces and great nephews and great nieces and et cetera, et cetera. But she was able to go out of this world just as we were welcoming somebody in. Now, I don't mean to be flippant and just say, oh, one goes, one goes. I don't mean that. But it was amazing that I could hold that baby in my arms and weep and cry, not only for the fact that my mother would never meet him, but also that new life was in my arms. And life does go on, boys and girls. And we have to press on for little lives like that. Now, if we just stayed sad and upset all the time, who would that be benefiting? Who would that be helping? Now, don't get me wrong. I want to bring balance to this. I have grieved. I'm going to continue to grieve. And grief is going to take many forms. And even with comparing it to 16 years ago when I lost my daddy, and, we were very close. I was a daddy's girl in many ways. This grief is different. This is a different kind of grief. Maybe because my mother was a point of contact, a point of reference, and we knew that we could continue going on as long as she was still here. But now she's gone too, and it's going to take on a whole new a whole new dynamic of having her gone out of our lives. So are her memories precious? Oh, absolutely. Did we have our differences? Oh, you betcha, especially when I was a teenager and my mother used to say, Jeanne, I love you, but I don't like you very much. That kind of explains what she was like. Trust me, I gave her reasons to not like me very much sometimes as a teenager, as a rebellious teenager that I was. But it was constant. And she may not have always said, I love you that way. But it was still, in our hearts. We know. She had her ways. We had our ways. We didn't always see eye to eye. But she will always forever be in my heart. So that's the thought I want to leave you with today. That life goes on. It goes on. I'm going to be talking some about her as the weeks pass. Little things that'll come to mind that I want to share with you. Some things are very private and we'll just keep it among our family. But some things I do want to share, some fond memories. I'm seeing some names rolling now, and I know you know just what I'm talking about. I see Craig there. Hi, Craig. You remember her. We used to call my mother Gom. Let me explain this. We called my father Jad, and we called my mother Gom. They both had hearing problems. So Fran and I, my sister and I, we would say Gom instead of Mom and see if she caught it. And then we giggle, Well, before you know it, that became their names. So Fran and I have a whole bunch of Gom-isms, as we call them. And we have all kinds of sayings. My mother was one for sayings and for doing things certain ways and for having habits that were just like particularly Gom habits, So I will be talking about Gom. And I even thought, hey, how about if I call this segment Gom is Gone, but Life Goes On? And I think that's a really good subtitle for this. Gom is gone, but life goes on. So I think that's probably all I have to say about this right now. But I will also say just one more tiny thing, and that is I am going to set up a memorial page for her on Facebook. So I'll tell you more about it tomorrow. As I said, I got in late last night, and my radio station, WRMZ.org and Ram Radio in Headland, that they've been missing me. Tom has been holding down the fort in my absence. So I've got to get back to the studio today because life goes on, and I have to get busy. So it'll be a little later today, and I'm going to set up a Facebook memorial page with Mary Pereno, okay? And you'll have an opportunity to share your thoughts and memories of her. So stand by for that one because it's coming in the next day or two, okay? But meanwhile, go be a blessing to somebody today. You might end up being the only one who is. Yesterday, as I was traveling, God in his infinite wisdom put me in I didn't want to sit in a middle seat, but they had to put me wherever they could put me at the airport. They put me in a middle seat, and I got between two of the most precious people in the world, a little gal named Casey and a man named Sam. And they helped comfort me and encourage me the whole way. And I was so fortunate to have them with me. So they were a blessing to me. They weren't the only ones who were, but they were a blessing to me. So you go do the same, especially in Gom's memory, because she blessed so many people with all the things that she did in this world. So you go be a blessing, okay? And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can catch all of my Take Twos at Jeanne Sigler, Jeanne Sigler. And please do tune in to Ram Radio at WRMZ.org. Okay, I know this was a little lengthy. I did preface it by saying it was an extended version of Take Two. This is probably the most challenging Take Two I ever have had to do. And as things go on, can I request, if there's anything I could ask of you, boys and girls, right now, pray for us and my family. We have many challenges ahead. There's many, many things to get in order. And it just seemed like with all the times that my mother beat the odds and kept going on and on and on, even 4 or 5 years ago, getting her first cancer diagnosis, and she kept pressing on. We just kind of thought she'd beat this one, and it ended up going the other way. When it could go either way, it went the other way. So that being said, there's quite a bit to do. We have many tasks ahead. So pray for wisdom and pray that we can do everything, as the Bible says, decently and in order. Okay? I love you all very much. God bless. And if you want to just send me an encouraging word, we could always use those being sent this way. I love you all very much. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Bye-bye.